Nothing. I stepped forward. Da! The sunlight sent patterns whirling across my eyes in the gloom. I blinked them to stop. Da was not in the main room. It was the same as when I had left, the bowl of burnt porridge uneaten on its bed of maps. The walls swayed lightly. Because of the maps on my spinning head, I did not know. Only the forest green jug had been moved back onto its shelf. A rustle came from Da's study, and relief filled me like air. That was typical of Da, too busy with work to hear me. He probably wouldn't even know what was going on outside. I crossed a thick curtain and pulled it aside. Da! The shutters were open, letting through a breeze that lightly lifted the papers covering his desk. This must have been what I heard, because his stool was empty. Staining the parchment on the desk was something shiny. Unable to stop myself, I reached out to touch it. It was wet. My fingers were red. I felt the room spooling away, my mind filling with dark. Each of us carries the map of our lives on our skin. Da's voice. Why was he speaking like that? Cold, slow. See here how my blood runs, not blue at my wrist, but black. And why did I know exactly what he was going to say next? Your mother always said it was ink. I am a cartographer, through to my heart. Da was ahead of me, walking through a dark channel of houses that swayed in the wind like trees. Now there were trees, and Da was stretching his hand towards me, redness flooding his palm. His chest was a bloody mess of skin and feathers, black feathers, like ravens Pep caught. My heart... I was dreaming. Da was walking towards me, his face blank. I wrenched my chest from the hot ground, pulling myself backwards away from him, along the stretching line of trees, out of the dream. Something was tugging my hair. Miss La. When I opened my eyes, she squawked indignantly and began running around in circles. I was on the floor of the study. Pep was sitting in the doorway regarding me cautiously. But Da, where was he? My head throbbed as I looked at my fingers. Still, that deep red stain. I stood slowly. The room tilted and my shoulder ached where I had landed on it. I made my way shakily through the house, checking the kitchen and the garden where Gabo's tabayba bush was just beginning to bloom and the starburst blossoms. Miss La and Pep followed, but there was no Da anywhere. At the front of the street was still deserted. I held on to the doorknob as if the ground were an ocean and letting go meant drowning. The drumming in my ears was back, layering over the sound of insects and the ravens that hunted them. Over here! The voice made me jump. Isa, in here! Masha was peering through a crack in her shutters. I let go of the door and crossed the street, legs shaking. Masha closed the door hurriedly behind me. What are you doing out there all alone? The words rushed from my mouth. It's Da, he's not home, I can't find him, and there's blood. I held out my hand. It shook, though I told it not to. Isa, breathe. Masha wiped away my tears with her cuff and steered me to a chair. She uncurled my fingers and brought a bowl of warm water from the stove. She began rubbing at the stain with a coarse cloth. The back door was open and a sluggish breeze wafted in from the dirt courtyard. This isn't blood. Masha's face was scrunched up with concentration. What? It's not blood. See how it won't budge no matter how I scrub it? The stain was still bright red. What is it? Masha shrugged. Ink, I imagine. But where's Da?